guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. It's Sunshine Lorena and today is Vlogmas day 18 and I'm coming at you with my audiobook recommendations. So guys, this year has been the year of the audiobooks for me. I've really gotten into my audiobooks. I started my journey back in 2020, but 2021 has been the year that I have picked up a lot of audiobooks. So I've decided to kind of just give you my favourite ones that I've picked up. And yeah, I'll probably do another one of these recommendation videos another time, but these are ones that, you know, I think are great. Audiobooks is a valid way of valid form of reading. But yes, I love audiobooks. I read them on their own, so you know, when I'm busy cleaning, cooking, etc., I think it's really good way to read while doing a task that I don't actually have to think about, etc. But I also sometimes use it when I'm walking and things, or I use the audiobook with the actual physical or ebook at the same time, which I find brings something more to the experience. So yeah, let's just get into it then. The first one on my list is Dial A for Aunties, and it's by Jessie Q. Sutano. Guys, this book and this audiobook, like, amazing. I absolutely loved it. I listened to this only on audiobook and it was back in August, and it was when I was traveling to Sicily, so I knew that there's a lot of times you're traveling, you know, when you're traveling, so I didn't have time to physically sit with the book, but I managed to get it done in audiobook format, and it was for the $1,000 weekend version of that readathon. It's so good. So if you don't know, Dial A for Aunties, our main character accidentally kills her date. Okay, she accidentally kills her date, doesn't go to the police, she rather, you know, goes home, speaks to her mum, who then calls up the aunties, and then it's them dealing with the disposal of this body. However, they actually, all of them own and run this wedding business, and there's this massive wedding the next day where they have to go to this island. So they're trying to get rid of the body while dealing with this wedding. And then to top it all off, our main character ends up bumping into someone that she used to know and quite likes, and it is just hilarious. Despite obviously the murder being involved in this, it is actually so funny. I laughed so much during this. It just, the aunties are amazing, and her mum, the whole interaction, and like the audiobook, it was just so good. Like, I highly recommend it. I had a good time. I had a good time with this audiobook, and yes, I cannot wait because in 2022 the second one in the series is coming out, and I can't wait. I absolutely love the aunties. They you know, they were they made the book so good, okay? And it's absolutely fantastic audiobook, the way that, you know, the aunties were portrayed in it as well, and just amazing, guys, amazing. Okay, so my second recommendation is Born a Crime, Stories from My South African Childhood, and it's by Trevor Noah. So yeah, if you don't know, Trevor Noah is the host of The Daily Show. He is a South African comedian, and yes, back, I want to say it was like 2016, he released this memoir. So the first time I read it as an ebook, really loved it, enjoyed it, and the second time I listened to it on audiobook, and the experience that second time, he actually reads the book himself on the audiobook, so I think that also brings something extra to it, because I personally find when I listen to audiobooks that are memoirs, and it's read by a person who actually wrote it, you just, I don't know, it feels different. Like, you could feel them really telling you their story, and just, yeah, anyway, it's so good. So Trevor was born in 1984 to a white Swiss father and a black South African Xhosa woman. At the time, that was illegal, so that's why the book is entitled Born a Crime. And the following year, that law was repealed. Like, his parents could have went to jail, simply with the fact that he was born, because, you know, it wasn't supposed to happen. So that explains the title. I think the great thing about this is you get to see all of his childhood growing up to a young man, and he gives you pieces of the history as well. So if you don't know anything about apartheid and everything in South Africa, then don't worry, because he does give bits and pieces of information throughout to give you context to certain things that are happening. It is funny, there are sad moments obviously, but he tells it in such a great way. I think for me personally, I am myself half South African. I was born after 1984 because I'm also mixed race, and so very different situation for me, but I think for me it was really interesting reading his story for somebody who was born a few years before me, but also somebody who actually grew up in South Africa, whereas I've grown up in the UK. So for me personally there was that extra element, but the fact that he is actually reading this audiobook himself is amazing. The voices he does for everyone, like, I mean, he is a comedian, so I think it was always going to be fantastic. But yeah, it's really great, and it's really great to like hear all these different stories of his childhood, all the different situations he was in, the good, the bad, the ugly. And yeah, there's some things in there that are, you know, will shock you that have happened, but yeah, I really recommend it. It's a great memoir. And I really want the physical book because I have the audiobook, I have the ebook, and I do actually want to get the physical one at some point. And I'm probably due for a reread on this because I think it's fantastic, guys. I think it's fantastic. Okay, the next one I have on my list is Bird Box by Joss Malerman. I read this back in October on audiobook. So Bird Box was adapted into the film on Netflix. And so I saw the film before, so I already knew the story. The book is slightly different. There are some differences, but essentially there's two timelines you're following this. But you kind of start off where it is our main character Mallory, and she has these two children, and she decided this is the time, you know, we have to make this journey. We're gonna have to get on a boat and go down the river 20 miles. However, there's something out there in the world that if you see it, it makes you like kill yourself, like cause violence, etc. So people have to go around with blindfolds. So they're having to do this journey blindfolded. Then you get the past timeline, which leads you up to how this whole thing happened, how it initially went on, and it kind of builds up to the situation. And believe me, it's creepy. It's a horror book. It's creepy because I think it's the not knowing. I really think it's like not knowing what's out there. There's different situations where, you know, obviously they hear that somebody is obviously, you know, being violent. We don't know what this creature is, what this thing is at all. And yeah, like just hearing the things, you could obviously hear that something's going on, but you can't take the blindfold off, and it freaked me out, guys. It freaked me out, not gonna lie. But I think the audiobook just gave it that extra level because you were listening to it. I just felt like it was described in such a great way because you weren't getting descriptions of like, oh, the sun was yellow. Okay, that's probably a really bad example, but you weren't getting that. You were getting descriptions of them, other senses, so them like something that they smell, what they hear, something that they're like touching. So you're getting descriptions in a different way because when they're outside of their homes, because otherwise they're in darkness, when they're outside of their homes, they've got these blindfolds on, and obviously they can't see anything, so you can't get a description of what a tree looks like. You just get a description of them like walking, and maybe they're bumping into something, and then they're feeling, and they feel the bark, and they realise it's the tree. For me, it was such a great experience, a really, really great experience. I recommend it. I think it's very unique in that sense, in the way of how that story is in particular. So yes, if you're looking for a horror one, I definitely recommend that. Like I said, I found it creepy. It was really, really good. And yeah, I really enjoyed that audiobook. So yeah, if we go on to our next one, guys, it's another favourite. So we go on to our next one, and it's The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I feel like this month I have mentioned this book so many times and so many different videos for different reasons, okay? But yeah, I love this book, okay guys? I love it. There, I said it. But yes, this one I did audiobook and the ebook, and I think the audiobook really brought it alive. I think I enjoy romance audiobooks because then you always have like seeing that back and forth between the two characters. Sometimes they're done where it's like, you know, the male is done by a different narrator, compared to the female. This one wasn't, but I think it was done really well, such a good job. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. So if you don't know, The Hating Game, it's a romance novel. We have Lucy and Josh. They work for the same company. A few years before they've been this merger, and they have always hated each other. They don't get on, they absolutely hate each other. They play these different games. They're always making complaints to HR about each other. And honestly, that HR woman, she's blessed with some patience, because I personally probably would have quit like a long time before, you know. But yes, there's all this back and forth, but then a job is created in the company, and essentially they each have their own boss. When the merger, they came from two different companies, and they both report into the directors from their versions of the company. So both of them want them to go for this job, and whoever gets this job is actually going to be the other one's boss. So there's this whole thing ensuing with their like hate back and forth, and it's just so good watching this back and forth. And it's a romance novel, so you know what's going to happen, guys. But it's great, and having that on audiobook was really, really great. Highly recommend it. I just love it. I love it. I love it, okay? Next one I have is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. I read this one back in September, so I did have the ebook and then the audiobook, and this is the one that if you see it, it looks like an IKEA catalogue. It's kind of a bit whimsical. So basically it's a horror novel. However, the story takes place, it's a haunted house but done in a fake IKEA. They even like allude to in the book how the store, it's called Orsk, is like IKEA. Okay, so they always allude to this. And basically each morning when the employees come in, something's happened. Like things are broken in the displays, like there's mess everywhere, there's rubbish, etc. The security cameras haven't caught anything, but there's clearly something going on at night when they're not there. So the manager decides that him and two other employees are gonna stay overnight in the store, do patrols and check and see what's going on to try and catch it. They assume, you know, there's some kids breaking in, some teenagers causing trouble, etc. Or like there's maybe like a homeless person sneaking into the shop to try and like sleep or something. So yes, like I said, it's a haunted house situation. So things are happening when they're in the store, and yes, it's very interesting. I loved how it was told, and then at the start of each of the chapters you get like a description of a item of like furniture, and they have names, like you know how IKEA ones have names. But I loved the description. But yes, having this in audiobook, I thought it was really good. Like I could imagine myself in an IKEA store, which I think, yeah, really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Again, you know, got those creepy vibes of the horror book. Amazing. Then I'm going to recommend to you guys, This Is Gonna Hurt by Adam Kay. This is another memoir. Again, he is the one that reads it. Like I said, a memoir is read by the person. Always good. So this is Diaries of a Junior Doctor. He is no longer a doctor, at least when he wrote this. I don't know, he decided to give up the profession. However, he saw that he kept like these diaries and notes of things while he was a junior doctor, and he has combined them into this memoir whilst, you know, filling in the gaps of the story, etc., of what it's like to be a junior doctor. For me personally, it really opened my eyes to like how much work they do, like the hours, but also in this there's like lots of comedy, like telling the funny story of patients. Obviously all details are hidden of these people, but like the things that people go into like the hospital and everything for. And yeah, it's funny. There are some sad moments. You also get to the bottom of why he actually decided to leave the profession. But yes, I think it's really good. It was a good insight into the, you know, what a junior doctor, what it's like to be, how that training is, and how the system is in the UK. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, he brought the humour to it more, I think, with him actually doing the audiobook. Definitely made me laugh at several points. And then we have our last one, and that is In the Dream House, and it's Carmen Maria Machado. And this is another memoir. Again, it is read by her, but this is a memoir like no other memoir. I've never read any other memoir like this. And I don't know if I ever will, because it's told in a very unique style. It does get referred as like if you like horror, you're gonna like this because it has those horror elements. What's the best way to describe it? So in this one, it is an account of a relationship gone bad. So tracing the full arc of a harrowing experience with a charismatic but volatile woman, this is a bold dissection of the mechanisms and cultural representations of psychological abuse. Each chapter views the relationship through a different lens as Machado holds events up to the light and examines them from distant angles. She casts a critical eye over legal proceedings, fairy tales, Star Trek and Disney villains, as well as the iconic works of film and fiction, infused in all her characteristic wit, playfulness and openness to inquiry. The result is a powerful book that explodes our ideas about what a memoir can do and be. That is the best way to describe it. It's told fantastically. It's written in such a fantastic way. It is done through a different lens, and you almost feel like it isn't actually a memoir, but it's true. Everything there's true. How she went through this abusive relationship, and yeah, like I said, she reads the audiobook, and it's written beautifully. It's written in such a beautiful way. I really recommend the audiobook, so you can hear like the poeticness of how she's written it. I 100% recommend. And yes, that's it. That is all the audiobooks that I have on this recommendation list for you today. Like I said, at some point I'm sure I'll do a second round because I am absolutely loving the audiobooks, and I will continue to use audiobooks throughout 2022 when we get into that year. So yes, if you have any other audiobooks that you really enjoy, let me know, leave a comment below because I am always on a search for a great audiobook. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!